Spider project. Oh, that's just what we're calling it. Okay. Huh. Well, that's it. The breakaway will not currently be hit. Unable to find corresponding location. I disagree. Huh.
It do be like that sometimes.
Apparently so. Did I bork the scriptable option?
Okay.
I did.
I'll share here too. I haven't in a while.
How did I do this?
Okay. Everything is set up.
Sweet. Shall I screen share and explain how things work?
Yeah, let's do it.
I got Nitro back just so I can have better streaming because I was teaching a buddy yesterday and it was pain to not have Nitro.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, so I'm just going to use GitHub history to kind of let you know what I changed.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so the first thing, okay, so upgrade. So we have a few things that changed in here. When the game starts in Game Manager, we instantiate the player, and then we craft all of the saved effects because they need to apply to the player, right?
Right.
So all this does is for each of the upgrades, tell it to init, which applies all the overrides. So that way, so each of the effects has like their stats that they need, right?
Right.
These are useless. Don't touch these. Okay.
Okay.
The upgrade holds on to. Huh. That keeps getting overwritten. Interesting. The upgrade itself holds onto the effect and then overrides all those stats.
Okay.
So you can see, for example, in ammo regen up, projectile lifetime down. Oh, what is happening? Huh. Anyways, so
Everything
basically,
wrong.
I have a scriptable object, one scriptable object effect for each stat for each like combat stats and weapon stats, right?
Right.
So setting up these is as simple as dragging in ammo regen and saying, hey, your ammo regen needs to decrease by 0.9 because it's how many shots you can shoot per second. So if you lower the timer, you can shoot faster. That's its
Right.
positive. It's compounding. So you have 4 options. Flat, you like add 1 damage. Additive would be if your damage is 10 and each upgrade gives you 10%, then it would be like 11, 12, 13 damage. Compounding is taking that 10% and multiplying it to the power of how many you own. And then manual sets used for like enemies.
Okay.
And then for just on hit effects, this is like an application chance, like the chance that this thing applies.
Yep.
This can also happen for stats. For example, you have a
You have the one that gave you grief.
Yeah, you have a 5% chance for one projectile per shot.
Yeah.
And then for status effects, you have duration and tick rate. So,
Which
using
would
all of these...
also be used
Go
for
ahead.
timer effects, I imagine.
Yes. So, now if we go look at init, all it does... So, the upgrade isn't holding on to effects, it's holding on to an effect upgrade container. And all that does is hold on to the effect and the overrides. So in this guy inits, if we have an effect, because remember, some upgrades have a positive and no negative.
Right.
So we say, hey, if the effect is null, don't do anything. Otherwise, we create an instance of that correct type, which is what I found works, and then cast it to an effect. And then we apply the overrides. So that way, as soon as the game starts up, we create a new scriptable object, apply all those overrides.
Okay.
Then, if it's something that is unlocked, we will come through, right? So if we go back to Game Manager, craft save effects, we init all of them. And then for all the ones that were crafted, right, because we're loading from the save file, then we go ahead and craft them, right?
Yeah.
So that way they apply to all their lists and whatnot. Okay, so there's two pieces to crafting. One, you have to give the upgrade info, which needs to give its category and effect category, and the whole reason this is here is for mount owned. And then auto craft, you need to tell it that, hey, it needs to apply to the player entity, which is the whole reason this had to be done in the game manager.
Yep.
Okay, so then we move on to effect. What has changed here is obviously apply overrides, and I believe that's actually it. Then if we move down to stat modifier effect, I have done some kerfuckery. So, stat modifiers take how much they impact that stat and the type that they impact that stat. So, there's two complicated pieces here. There's the description, which is just like generating the UI description. So you like figure out whether it's plus or minus, and then like 10%, and then the name of the stat per stack, and then flat, compounding, or additive. So this is just building a string from all those variables, right?
Right.
So the only complicated part here is impact stat. So if I go show you how impact stat works, so when we recalculate a stat, we first, if we have any override effects, you set it to that override effects stat, and then don't do anything because this is an override, right? It's a manual set. Then we start out by grabbing the base value, and then for all the flat effects, we tell it to impact the stat. So if we go C, a flat effect will add to the stat, right?
Right.
But for compounding and additive, they will multiply. What guarantees that we do additive before compounding is just here, right?
Right. Makes sense.
Okay. The last piece to this is impact as a calculated variable, right?
Right.
So impact itself, if it's flat or additive, you just multiply the impact times the amount that you own, right? If it's 10% per stack and you own 10 of them, and it's 100%, right?
Right.
And then for compounding, you obviously multiply it to the power, and then that actually returns the impact, which then you use to impact that stat. Beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, so then to show you how I got random weapon effect working. So random weapon effect, this is the one that has random positive and random negative. Okay.
Yes.
So the way it looks in the editor is just how much you want it to impact the stat. Obviously, you don't touch these, right? So random up, random down. It will take in a random ranged effect for positive and negative. And the positive will be 1.1 compounding, and the negative will be 0.9 compounding. And then every time it tries to get the stat to effect, it says whether I'm ranged or melee to grab the correct weapon stats, does a random to switch over each of the stats. Which, this is going to be weird when rate of fire is supposed to be a positive, but it multiplies it by 1.1, right?
Yeah.
So obviously it's an ideal, but it gets us something that somewhat works.
Well, and then, yeah. And then projectile per shot and stuff like that is weird because it is technically has to function like an int.
Yeah.
So
So
that almost can't be here.
yeah, I'll add some overrides for how this thing should function. Be like, hey, if it's a positive effect, like yeah, handle it accordingly, right?
Yeah.
Again, I didn't want to put so much effort into something so small and unimportant. If people find out that this thing is broken because it can make some of your stats go up that shouldn't, then power to you.
Yeah.
So the next interesting one was a random chance for +1 projectile, or +1 penetration, right? So this should happen every time you try and shoot, right?
Yeah.
And in your description, I wasn't sure whether the +1 projectile per shot should scale or whether the chance should scale as you buy more. So I made it so I made a class that will handle both of these and both the chance and the impact scaling. Okay.
Okay.
So the way that look is a % chance weapon effect. So you can control which weapon stat it affects with the enum, and then you can control whether you're scaling the chance or the stat. So it looks like, so I created two of these. We have chance up penetration and chance up projectile per shot. So projectile per shot is incorrect. It impacts the stat, not the chance. By default, we do 1 extra projectile per shot with a 5% chance. Then for penetration, same thing.
Yep.
So the way it works is just when we calculate the impact, we say, hey, if we're a stat impact, return the impact per stat. Because remember, the impact scaling type can either be the chance or the stat, right?
Yeah.
If it's... Wait a minute. This should be chance. Thanks for finding that bug. But if we're scaling the chance, just return the default impact, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then when we get the stat to affect, we do our if statement BS to figure out which stat to affect. Then when we impact the stat, we do the random chance check, and if we don't impact, we just return the stat. Otherwise, return it times the impact, or whatever, like however it scales, right?
Makes sense.
So this lets you just set 4 variables, and now you can have a random chance to impact any stat that is ranged. Or melee.
Yep.
The rest of these, I think, were pretty self-explanatory. Like, the only thing that really needed to change for most of the stat stuff is compounding versus flat, and then the numbers.
Yeah. That's kind of the hope.
Yep. So now I was starting to work on the burn effect, and I wasn't quite there yet. What else changed? Oh, I made a little tool. I keep creating upgrades and then forgetting that you have to add them to the upgrade settings. So I just made a little tool that you can click here and hit populate upgrades.
Okay.
And it just looks at the scriptable objects effects folder, or sorry, scriptable objects upgrades folder, and recursively searches for all of them and adds them to the list.
Makes sense.
So just make sure when you're doing enemy stuff, you don't add them to the upgrades folder.
All right.
But enemies don't have upgrades anyways.
No. But they do still use amount owned, correct?
Yeah, that'll be their floor scaling.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
Oh, and then the other big thing I did is just make the UI function the way it should, and it's not going to work because none of the upgrades are hooked up currently. God damn. That's my next thing I'm gonna fix, I guess, is figuring out why the scriptable objects keep getting cleared. And also figure out... Huh. So if we go look here... I guess I just have to go hook them all up again and watch where they clear, huh? Alright, fine. I can work on this while you explain your thing, because this is not going to be super interesting, because there's just going to be me hooking up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
So we should do the animation controller rework that's going to hurt both of our souls.
Yep. I don't wanna.
God, so happy I started putting comments everywhere. I don't know why I was so bad about it before. It saved us so much
Yep.
already.
God, it was so funny. Thor got into an argument with some people in chat because a bunch of people were saying you don't need comments if you have clean code. And he was just like, what is your idea of clean code versus anyone else on your team's idea of clean code?
Yep.
So
Yep.
You're not just making this readable for you. You're making it readable for everyone. And even if you are the only one who's going to look at it, are you really that confident you're going to know exactly what your intentions were when you come back to it 6 months later, to the point of where it will say cost you literally no time to figure it out?
The answer, friend, is no.
And I learned that the hard way, and that's why I comment even my personal projects now, because I'm like, I don't want to spend even 5 minutes coming back to this trying to figure out what I was trying to do. I want to know exactly what I was trying to do, because it's usually stupid anyway. And there's usually a better way to do it.
Okay, so now if I save, are all the things in those scriptable objects? Oh, fucking joy. Do you know how to tell Unity that a scriptable object has changed?
I think it's still just set dirty.
Yeah, but like, I manually touched them in the inspector and they didn't update.
Fuck. I just ran into this on Beasts of Burden and I'm trying to remember how I fixed it. Hang on. Because it's specifically dragging in object references that just doesn't work the way it should. And it's very annoying. It feels like it's been a really recent issue, too.
I'm starting to think scriptable objects are the wrong solution.
Yeah.
Because basically the whole reason we have these at this point, the scripts for effects, for example, aren't really used. They're just used so we can drag them in.
Yeah, I'm really starting to wonder if interfaces is going to be a better solution to our problem.
Well, so here's the problem, right? In the upgrade, we need a way to select which effect is positive and negative, right?
Right.
So we need something to drag in, or the other option is having a drop down, which is going to end us in a not fun spot.
Yeah, both options suck.
Yeah.
This project, and it's completely irrational because I have no idea if a different engine would handle it better, but this project has made me start to hate Unity.
Well, we are doing some of the hardest stuff you can possibly do in game dev.
Absolutely. And I acknowledge that wholeheartedly. I know for a fact that our effects system specifically is something I have seen people do in Game Maker Studio way easier, but that doesn't mean everything else would work in that engine.
I also don't think they would support all of the crazy shit I'm trying to do with this effect system.
Probably not all of it, no. But maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's some pretty crazy roguelikes made in that engine, but...
What's really started to annoy me about Unity is I was reading through forums yesterday to figure out how to do that scriptable object create instance BS. And somebody was commenting saying, hey, like I'm using scriptable objects as kind of like a dirty workaround so like I can have all these references to things. It was like, yeah, we have to do that. And one of the Unity devs was basically commenting saying like, there's no really like actual use case for you needing to like create scriptable objects at runtime. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of stuff like that. And like that's looking
like, then
at
tell
other...
me what the better option is.
Looking at other engines, the way they handle global shit is just so much better than the way that Unity handles global shit. And that's the one thing that Unity has just always been bad at.
You know what? I'm gonna cheat. What if I just... Where's upgrades? There. Oh. You're gonna hate this and love it at the same time. You had it, and then you disappeared. Then we're gonna do if upgrade dot positive dot effect is not null. Then I hate it so much. Help. It works though.
Okay, what are you doing? Hang on.
I'm making a tool in the upgrade settings that loops through all of the upgrades since it holds all of them. It sets the upgrades dirty and their effects dirty.
So you know what's really fun?
Huh?
That is correct.
Yeah, I don't like it.
According to Unity API, that is what you're supposed to do.
No fucking way.
One thing though.
Oh, look, there they go.
You apparently don't want to just do set dirty. You apparently want to do set dirty and shit, I just had it and then I got out of it. So set dirty is fine, but it means you can't undo any of your changes ever on a scriptable object.
Oh, you have to do like asset database, like you have to let the asset database know you did something.
So what you have to do is and this is only on scriptable objects. On anything else, you just do undo.record object. But with scriptable objects, you have to do set dirty and undo.record object.
So, okay, here's what I'm concerned about. So we set these as dirty, right? And now GitHub Desktop. Oh shit! Actually, I should put that. Now GitHub Desktop doesn't detect the upgrades as dirty in the first. Okay, so I'm gonna add upgrade dirtying. Okay, so now if I go run my game and my effects do end up borked. First off, I'm not sure how to repro it. Oh, because I'm creating all of them at... Fuck. That's why.
Oh, does the create instance not carry the...
Uh-huh.
God damn it.
How do I even begin to solve this? Okay. Actually, I'm curious. Ranged on hit tier 1 burn. Ranged physical tier 1. Okay, so it kept all the information.
That's... Yeah.
We just can't inspect it without making like a tool. Which is what I was expecting, right?
Yeah. God.
So then...
So wrong.
Okay, so if I kill it... Do you want to reload it? Yes. Okay, so I have a bunch of bank DNA, I have a bunch of dirt, I have a bunch of grass. And then effects... I want to replace all of the is unlocked false with is unlocked true. Make sure it loads everything and they actually have the correct state. Range physical tier 1. It does actually carry their state over.
Okay.
Wait, why is there text missing? their text is missing because the scriptable object got borked. This time, so when I stop and start again, okay. The workaround is to save off the thing that we had, and then in the Unity editor called set defaults, it reverts them. That feels bad. That feels bad.
Feels very bad. All of this feels bad.
Do we just... Okay. How do we hold on to effects that are not scriptable objects? If they aren't scriptable objects, how do we get access to them?
At that point, it's just creating a database.
Yeah, but how does the editor like access them? Like, how do we set up the config for that? Other than having a dropdown, we like the thing I want, right? If this is a dropdown and there's 40 effects once we have like all of the player ranged melee stuff, it's gonna be hard to find them, right?
Yeah, no, we don't want drop downs for sure.
Actually, we could make drop downs work really well, actually. We could make drop downs work really well, actually. Okay, hear me out. Watch this. So, you remember how I got you to... Remember how I showed you that I got... entity stats calculated showing?
Yeah.
To do that, I actually wanted to show you this. It's kind of cool. It's in modifiable stat. So, calculated... I'm saying, hey, I want this field to serialize, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to be a read-only field.
Right.
A read-only field is a custom property attribute that I made. And all that attribute does is just let you have an attribute, right? Because then I have a property drawer that uses that looks at that attribute and just overrides it and disables the editing.
I've seen,
what I'm
seen
thinking
systems like that before. They're really cool.
So what I'm thinking we can do is on the upgrade, we can create a property that is, once you have set the upgrade category, effect category, tier category, then you can choose the effect, and it limits all the effects down by those 3 dropdowns, and this will be a dropdown then that is limited.
So,
what do you think?
I think
and then it instantiates the class at runtime.
I think the scope might still get a little out of hand.
Uh-huh. Because now we're just using instance class at runtime and we have no way to debug those easily.
We don't have a good way to debug.
Even look.
Debugging scriptable object instances, I have found, is equally nightmarish. There's almost no functionality for it.
That's why I like the idea of them just being classes.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm not concerned about that. It's more like drop-downs could still get out of hand, but I don't think they'll get more out of hand than this system.
Yeah.
Because
okay, so hear me out, right? If I choose range and physical, it doesn't matter what tier I choose. All I do is I look in stats, weapon, and then the drop-down is all of these.
Yeah.
If I choose range on hit, then the downside then is everything's folder structure dependent.
Does it have to be? No, it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Because we can make, what we can do is we can generate a local list based on link statements for the enums in the effects. When we're creating this property drawer, we can literally pass in the the enemies we've already selected, have it take the all effects list, and then
wait. No, the system I have right here is fine. The system I have now is fine because when we make a build, these effects, the scriptable objects will get you can't edit these scriptable objects in a build. This missing problem will never happen in a build. Because when you load up the game, the scriptable object stays the same, right?
Right.
You don't actually... So then all I need to do is do what I was doing before, where when the game stops, just revert it back to the state it was.
Okay.
That seems better. Then we don't have to do any of this bullshit.
We're still working with scriptable object instances, which is less than ideal, but
yeah.
I say that Smart Lighting 2D uses scriptable object instances. I don't know why. And once the instance is created, it pretty much just floats off into the ether.
I will try to put into words why scriptable object instances are bad. They are doing the exact same thing as just creating an instance of a class, but they have the overhead of all the scriptable object nonsense. That's the whole reason they're bad.
Pretty much.
We don't need scriptable objects. Like the effect, you don't need to set up any of this stuff, you know?
It just, it feels unnecessarily clunky just for the sake of dragging stuff in when we don't need to. And having... Okay. There are reasons why this is bad. But having a central effects database can also be way more clean.
So I am down to keep reworking the system, because my big goal when I'm done with this game is to make like a YouTube series showing off all the cool systems we've made.
Yeah.
So like I am more than happy to find like the perfect solution for this.
So hear me out. What if we have one, and this is going to sound terrible at first, but hear me out. What if we have something like stats, where we have one script that's holding all of the effects classes that are, subclassed, interfaced to...
And it kind of like maps them from the categories to the classes, like a dictionary, basically.
And then we can have one database, which is very debuggable, because everything's in one place, so we can easily breakpoint whatever we need to as it's getting retrieved.
Yeah.
And we don't have... Because I feel like this is a system of extremes no matter what.
Actually, your system is better. Because right now, a ranged physical tier 1, I can drag any effect into it. Which means I could, theoretically, as a bad designer, make completely incorrect effects.
Yep. And this is a system of extremes. Do we want to go extreme designer, or do we want to go extreme technical? I think we want to go extreme technical. I think having everything in the editor is just going to be bad going forward.
Well, no. Going extreme technical is going extreme designer. Because right now we are not design friendly. A designer could mess this up.
A designer could easily mess this up, yes.
Whereas in the future, if this is just a drop-down that gives them only the options they have available, that should be available, that is about as designer friendly as it gets.
Wait. It's even better. You know why?
Mm-hmm.
If we have a central database of effects, we can then also map that to a JSON folder, or to a JSON file.
How would that do anything though? Because like they can't edit the code. It would just be the class names, right?
It would be the class names and the values.
Well, the effects don't have the values. It's the upgrades that hold on to the values for the effects.
You're right. Yeah, never mind.
So it is a cool idea. I just don't think it has impact. Though I like that you're always thinking about sending it to JSON so we can mod it.
Yep.
Okay, so let's have a crack at fucking nuking all these stupid ass scriptable objects. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate this. Everything
I
just
really
sucks.
don't like it either. I'm happy we're on the same page. I am not excited to rework it again, but I am excited to not have to deal with this because it's so much in my mind to keep track of all these goddamn folders and dragging shit across, making sure I'm like reading the difference between projectile speed and projectile spread because they're so close.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just, like you said, it's not designer friendly. It is in the sense that you're not doing anything in script, but that's not always a good thing.
So I think the place to start is in upgrade settings. We build this database.
Yep.
No, because that's in a scriptable object. Upgrade settings, we still do want to be scriptable objects, huh? Because we need a place to configure them. The other option is just JSON files. JSON files versus scriptable objects. Scriptable. If we do JSON files, we don't have to worry about the set defaults bullshit.
I kind of like JSON better.
I do too. The problem with JSON is that until you run the game once, the JSON file doesn't exist. And if you ever delete the JSON file, things behave like you have to figure out how to like initialize everything on first load, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like a settings file that is shipped with the. I guess it could be.
It could be, but that seems jank.
You need like an editor time generator. You see how that's like that comes with its own set of problems then.
Anything we do is going to come with its own set of problems. We're trying to
not have to work within the confines of Unity.
Right, we're basically building our own effects engine right now. So however we do it, it's going to be hard. We just need to decide what we like. And especially, let's be realistic, this is not the last roguelite we're going to make. If we're going to do this, let's build a system that we'll be happy working with forever.
I think that means just doing JSON, huh?
I think so. Especially because if we ever do switch engines in the future, it will take minimal porting to.
I actually don't think moving to JSON would be that bad, because like I can keep all of the effect code. It's just how we like start up and tear down, you know?
Yeah.
Like the effects, like max ammo effect and fire rate effect, are actually going to be the exact same way. They're just not going to have this create asset menu.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it'll take minimal, and again, it's much more scalable. Like if we use JSON, if we ever do switch to Godot, that would actually just work because it's using mainly C#, and then just the way the API would be slightly shifted, and that would be it.
So let's do this then. So we have a class called like upgrade filter that just takes in
maybe don't create a class in a scriptable object.
I'm just I know I'll fix it. So in order to filter down upgrades, we need this filter, right?
Yeah.
And then we now have a list of effects for that filter. Yeah?
So, okay, what are you trying to do here? This is just to generate the drop down?
This is that central database of, for these things, here are the effects that are possible.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get you.
What do you mean? What did you mean by central database?
No, I meant this. I got lost for a second.
Okay. So then, now, all making the database is basically this is gonna look awful. I'm sorry. So effect category. No, I want to do upgrade category first. So ranged. And god damn it. So creating a dictionary, I create the key, and then I create the value. Boom. Okay. This looks awful. I'm so sorry.
Well, we're just getting this proof of concept at this point.
Physical. Okay, so for this filter, the list of effects that are capable. How do I even? Because I need to just like get like the class itself. Like this needs to be like not a list of effect, but a list of types.
That's doable, right? Yeah, it is.
Well, it's almost making me think that I don't need a separate class for each of these stat modifiers.
No.
Like if we're gonna do this, then like I feel like I should be able to use reflection to like the only reason this exists is to be able to get this, right?
Yeah. Again, yeah. You know what? Let's do this right. As much as
reflection is scary,
right? As
just
much
like
as we both want to just find an easy solution to this, again,
and
we're not.
The other reason. Go ahead. Sorry.
we're not just building a list of effects for Let Me Add 'Em, we are building an effects system.
For the community.
Right, and for ourselves in the future. Like,
Exactly.
this is a full... Again, we're basically building an effects engine here.
Exactly.
And so if we're building an effects engine, let's build an effects engine that's just going to work independent of
Yes.
anything.
And this doesn't work because now I have to create a new class for each of these guys, when really what I want to do is just have this class, and all it does is look at the top level thing and gets all the fields inside of it.
Yep. Reflection
So
is the way
then,
to go. It's
I
the
was
only
gonna
way
say,
to
it
go.
will literally let me do all of these effects with one class.
Yep, and that's what we wanted from the beginning.
It is.
Like this is the correct way to do it, as much as it's
It is.
spooky.
So this isn't really a list of effect. Really what I want is like this. You know?
Yeah.
But that doesn't really... My brain is struggling to wrap around how this can even function. And then how does... Okay, so we're actually completely yoinking out scriptable object, aren't we? Because upgrade settings is now just going to be JSON.
Yeah. Scriptable object no longer matters. And good fucking riddance, honestly.
Yeah, this is going to take a hot minute to even figure out.
Yeah, we're no longer just game deving, we are software engineering now.
Yeah, my brain is going to do the big explode here.
The thing, like, what we're trying to do is 100% possible.
It is. Okay, so we need to hold on to a list of all the upgrades that you want. And this is just going to populate from JSON file on start, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then... Okay, so now... Okay, new problem. If this is coming from a JSON file, then setting up the upgrades in the JSON file isn't going to have any of this type noting about it, because we're not doing scriptable objects anymore.
Do we need type noting? Hang on.
I don't think this makes any sense, actually.
Wait, we can just use link functions, can't we? Because we have values for all of the enums that are going to be in there.
Okay, let's take a crack at writing a JSON file that would be this, yeah?
Okay, sure. Start there.
So I'm just going to take this file that is our current effects file, and I'm just going to pare it down a little. Okay, so the type is an upgrade container, and this holds all the upgrades.
Yep.
It's a list, and the values in that list start with an upgrade model. And the first upgrade is burn. And so what it really needs is the positive effect, which is an object. And it needs a negative effect, which is an object. And this will hold on to wait, so upgrades has its type. Okay, so it'll look like this. So this would be like that modifier effect, right?
Yep.
And then this one could be damage over time effect. And then we have overrides, which is an object that holds on to all the over. Okay, so this is how I literally need to like manually fucking design this thing. This seems terrible.
This does seem terrible.
This is worse than scriptable object. Because now I have to like figure out how to like get this fucking type, you know? Also, the only reason type exists is because we were doing subclassing. So I had turned that setting on in JSON so it knows which subclass to get when it loads.
Okay, what if we don't need subclassing?
How would that... So...
Okay,
there's
hear
no
me
way.
out. What if we have... What if we have a file like your events file that just holds all of the effects classes, and we just have completely separated out classes for different types of effects with interface overrides? So
You're still gonna have the same problem when editing the JSON file.
You're right. At that point, couldn't you edit it in the... Couldn't you at least edit it in Visual Studio and then write it to JSON? To make the design process easier?
I mean, if we're trying to make an effects engine, writing in Visual Studio is not something designers should do.
You're right, yeah.
If I back up a second, really what we want is for when I click this circle, for it to limit what my options are. Yeah?
Yeah.
We can override what, like, this property drawer does. I think we're sticking with scriptable objects. I hate it, but I think we are. I don't see a better design experience coming from JSON.
Is there a third option? I mean, we can...
I mean, basically what I'd like, if it was an ideal world, I'd kind of recreate how scriptable objects work. Right? And then instead of these being scriptable objects, they'd just be JSON files, and I'd be able to drag a JSON file into here, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much just going to be the exact same thing as a scriptable object system.
Yeah, it's pretty much... Scriptable objects are effectively just JSON files that are accessible in the editor.
Yeah. So I think this is correct.
The only alternative I can think of is to ignore design and just make it purely a class structure where everything is through code.
Could you imagine how much of a balancing nightmare that'll be, though?
Yeah.
Because then you'd have to, like, hit a breakpoint to even see what something is. And, like, how do you do the effect overrides, you know?
Okay, what if effects are not scriptable objects, but upgrades still are?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So then we get back to the thing where this is just a drop down instead of dragging in a scriptable object, right? Because the effects really don't need to be scriptable objects.
They really
none
don't.
of this data is figured.
And we can do mirroring and greatly reduce the amount of classes we actually need. And then still just access it from the upgrade menu.
Really what this should be is, like, effect should give you a drop down, and if you choose stat modifier effect, then it should give you a new drop down to choose which stat to choose.
Yeah.
And then if you choose status effect as the drop down, it should give you a second drop down to choose which status effect to choose.
Yeah. Because
Like,
even
really, the thing that I want is I don't want to have to remember where all these files are. I just want to click fucking drop down to be done with it.
right. Because even
That's what I like about this.
even populating the menu with something that's narrowed down, yeah, that'll stop you from dragging in the wrong shit, but it won't make it designer friendly, really.
Drop downs are where it's at.
Yeah.
So how do we make a drop down that knows about all of these classes that exist? It's got to be. I mean, it's reflection, right? That's the only option.
Yeah. We got to just do reflection.
Okay, so let's take a pass.
All roads are leading to reflection.
Yeah, I'm no happier about it than you are. Okay, so an upgrade holds on to an effect data container And this guy shouldn't hold on to an effect. Okay, let's try this. We have which type of effect? Stat effect, status effect, and timer effect, right? Those are kind of like our 3 effect categories.
Yeah, those are the main ones. I guess, how do you factor AoE into that? Is it status?
AoE will either impact your stat, apply a status, or be a timer.
Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, that's fine.
So then, once you choose the effect type, what are you pissy about? Are you really pissy about this? Basically, what we want is this field to be a property drawer once you've selected this, right?
Yeah.
So then,
my animation name property drawer functions in a way that's similar to this, to what we're trying to do.
where did you put it? In the future, put all editor code in the editor file folder. It won't be compiled.
It's in the editor folder. It's in utils editor. Oh.
Well, animation name is the class. Animation name editor is in the editor file. Okay, okay. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to utils editor. Effect property drawer. Okay, this one's gonna get hairy. There's gonna be reflection in a fucking editor. Actually, that's good. If all the reflection stuff is just at editor time, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And so, some of this is obviously not going to work the same, but...
I have already found a few cases where being in a namespace saved my ass, so I'm actually kind of happy we do it.
That's good.
Like my serialized property attribute to let you serialize properties, that would have clashed with Unity's type.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna link this and then conform it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we grab a serialized property, and then we want to find property relative grabs things around it. Hold on, let me go look at one of the things that is animation name. If we go look at player, it should have the animation controller. Default animation is an animation name, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, like idle down. Okay, so idle down looks at name, current index, can be canceled. Okay, so it can look at other things inside of itself.
Yes. So what find property relative does is it just passes a string that's the name of a variable and gets that variable as a serialized property. And then you can override that serialized property to be the specific thing that you want.
So what we want then is to get effect type.
Yep.
Position, yeah, I'm just gonna assume this shit's correct. So we shouldn't really need any of this stuff.
No.
Don't need this.
So we
This
shouldn't
isn't
need
really
that. Yeah, it's not relevant to us.
We are going to need this target object thing at some point. Okay, and this is all animation specific stuff.
Yep. Don't need
And
any of
here's the
that.
GUI stuff. Okay. So here's what we need to do. We need to basically say we need to load the upgrade settings so that we can get all upgrades, yeah? No. We need to get all effects.
Yes.
And they're not going to be scriptable objects anymore. Okay, so what happens? Yeah, okay. So I need to... Oh my god, this is hurting my brain. Okay, so I'm gonna pseudocode here.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
Choose effect type. Status type.
Yep.
Then once we've chosen the effect type, then we if stat choose which stats to edit. Movement or combat. Then so we choose movement stats, then choose which stat. Damage. Okay, so now we're affecting the damage stat. And we still have all the overrides. No, this feels impossible actually. Without having like a subclass for each one, I wouldn't even know how to like. How the fuck, bro?
So let's look at what we're doing here. We're generating in property drawers it has to be an array. We're generating an array of the effects that we want to be available to us, and then we're serializing it off of an index, which is going to be dictated by our enums.
Okay, so we're not capable of getting rid of all the individual effects for each of the stats. Because otherwise we really have no way to track. We have no way to do this, you know?
Yeah.
The only way to do this without all the subclassing would be reflection at runtime, and I don't really want to do that.
So
Agreed?
explain why editor time reflection isn't going to work?
Well, how do we tell a stat modifier effect that it needs to edit this variable? Oh, I guess the stat modifier effect could just hold an enum of all the things.
That could work, yeah.
And then when it does get stat to effect, it just switches over the enum and then pulls out the right thing. Kind of like how... I mean, it's literally just this.
Yeah.
Ah, that feels so... I think I'd prefer that over having a bunch of fucking classes.
I was gonna say, like, what feels worse?
Yeah. Probably having 20 files to remember how they work, rather than just having one file.
Once you get to a certain level, this is the way to do it. Once you go up the ladder of systems to the very base, this is how it's done.
Okay, so the problem is if we ever venture outside the bounds of just a stat effect, right? Like percent chance effect. How the fuck are you going to do that with a dropdown? Because we have so many different effects that are so versatile, I'm wondering if what I've set up is actually correct. Yeah.
What you've set up is a way to do it for sure. I just don't know if it's the best way for us to not fuck it up, you know?
Yeah.
It's not idiot-proofed at all.
I don't see a super easy way to idiot-proof this. Because even if we do the drop-down approach, right? And we do this big switch statement to figure out which piece to edit, how are we going to set up an effect? Yeah, how are we going to set this percent chance effect? Like, I just can't even wrap my brain around how that would even begin to function.
I mean, there's two ways to do it. One is to make every stat modifier effect a percent chance effect. But then you're checking a lot of stuff per shot, which we don't want.
And you also have to tell everything that it's just a normal stat modifier that has a 100% chance.
Yeah. I feel like we're missing something really simple that would make this work, even if it's difficult to set up. This just... Because I'm thinking in terms of... We have 5 effects per tier, per category per tier, in 2 tiers. What happens when we have 30 effects per category per tier and 20 tiers? Or 40 tiers? Like, we have such a limited scope, and it's already getting out of hand. And well, yes, the amount of...
In all honesty, like, creating a new upgrade is not that bad. Like, when I created Burn, I had to go create the effect scriptable object, and then just drag it in, and it was done. And then just set these 3. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. What I mean is, as we go, we're going to need to create more and more classes. And yes, there's going to be an exponential decay of the amount of classes we actually need to create, because there's only going to be so many brand new ideas, but there's still going to be new classes throughout the entire project. So this is still creating a scenario where there's, a non-zero chance that by the end of the project we have like 200 separate fucking files for our effects.
I think I'd prefer 200 separate files over one class that has 2,000 lines, you know?
Yeah. It all sucks.
It does.
Every solution sucks.
The more I keep trying to rework the system, the more that I realize that it's not that bad.
All right.
Okay, do you wanna just sit together and implement a few of these and see if we find any like big glaring problems that I missed?
Yeah, let's just go through it.
Okay. So the first thing that I need to fix is just in upgrade, when we init, we do this. And I'm just going to do when we init, I'm going to say initial effect equals effect. And then when we close the app, we just reset it.
Okay.
That way, when we're in the editor, this happens, right?
Yep.
So now, we're effectively just treating effects as classes at this point, right?
Yeah. They're pretty much only
scriptable
scriptable objects as a formality.
Yeah, which is fine, because now we have a thing to drag in, right? Like that's all scriptable object is giving us, is now it's a JSON file for us, which is okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, it's the same way that I have scriptable objects for the enemies that only hold a prefab, just so I can select them in the editor easier.
Anything that I need to revert and set defaults on an upgrade? I thought I have set default. How am I reverting amount owned? Am I? Did I forget? I don't think I am.
The disparity between editor and build for scriptable objects is honestly my least favorite thing about them.
It's the worst part of it.
Yeah. Like, I wish they would just function. I wish when I hit play in the editor just worked like a build, so that I knew how things were going to operate when I built it.
Yep. Okay, so when I set the defaults, I need to set is unlocked to false, amount owned to 0, is crafted to false, and then positive set defaults and negative set defaults. Those are the things that are set at runtime.
Yep.
So now, upgrade settings has set defaults. And for each of the I was doing it, just not the right way. There we go. Because now set defaults is called in platform. When the application quits and we're in the editor, revert.
Yep.
Right?
Makes sense.
Wait a minute. I forgot I renamed that. I didn't rename some of the variables. Okay. We should be back to hunky-dory. Minus this. Did I save everything? Yeah. So now if I go click on burn, are you guys still set up correctly? You are. Okay, so it was just burn that didn't get set. Scriptable objects, effect, status, damage over time. Nope, I'm on the wrong one. Leave me alone. This one, you deal 1 damage. You have a 50% chance to apply. It lasts for 3 seconds and does 1 tick per second. Ranged on hit tier 1, called burn. Don't have to touch any of this stuff. Save. And before Unity edits this stuff, add upgrade set default. Let's just make sure it functions correctly, shall we? So burn, when I start, has a type mismatch, which makes sense. When I hit X, it goes back to missing. Huh. Null ref. I renamed this variable. Got it. Platform is in NEC launch. And you now need the upgrade set. Okay. This is a lie. Okay, so burn. Missing. Come back. Haha! Okay, it works.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. I'm actually going to go to upgrade settings right quick and make sure that mark them all as dirty and save. That nothing shows up. Why did these all get yoinked? Damage over time effect. Oh, that's actually correct. I deleted a bunch of shit that I didn't need. Okay. Fix it. Okay, so if we want to go create a new effect, let's say we want to create, the next one in our list is 50% chance to either damage 5% extra or heal for 5% damage, yeah?
Yeah.
So, in this case, we don't have an effect that does this yet, right?
Right.
So, god damn it, I need another project folder to touch. We need to go to scripts, effect, and so this isn't going to fit in stats, status effects, or timer effects. It's just going to be on hit effect, yeah?
Yeah. On hit as well.
On yacht.
Indeed.
And we'll call this guy, what do I even call this? Heal or damage, okay. Percent heal or damage.
And yeah,
it's almost like I want to be able to have an effect that holds on to 2 other effects with a percent chance.
Yeah. Well,
Kind of like how status effects hold on to an effect.
And the idea of this is that it has a percent chance to apply, and then when it applies, it has a 50-50 to do one of these 2 things.
So let's yoink. It's not a stat modifier effect. It's just a regular effect, I think.
I think so.
It's going to be similar to damage over time, so I will yoink all of this. And I'll yoink the rest of the stuff from damage over time. We'll take out what we need. It is not a status effect, so we don't need on complete, on tick. Or duration or tick rate, or boop. So chance you probably shouldn't be able to edit. It should just be 50-50.
Well, okay, so here's what's weird though, is that it has a % chance to apply on hit, and then a 50-50 chance to do one of these two things.
The way this is worded, it says I have a 50% chance to do one or the other. Oh, I see.
If it succeeds.
So we'll call this chance to apply.
Yeah.
And then I'm just not going to worry about the description yet. So when I apply overrides, the application chance is the chance to apply. It doesn't have duration. It does have damage per stack. And this is actually going to be impact per stack because it's not necessarily damage. So we'll do it stat modifier effects and just call it impact. So on craft, we add this to on hit effects. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then when we execute...
I want to look really quick. I want to make sure, because I know some of these you kind of simplified when you put them into the spreadsheet. So I want to look at my original description and make sure this is...
Yeah, I may have poorly copy-pasted. I was on my phone, I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is on a success, 50-50 chance to apply 5% additional damage to either source or target, heal the other for the same amount. So this is, if it succeeds, I either damage myself 5 extra % and heal my target, or I damage my target 5 extra % and heal myself.
And whenever you say additional, that means that's the thing that scales. So the 5% is what scales here.
Yes.
Okay. So, when we craft it, it gets added on hit effects. Then when we execute, we have to figure out if it applies at all. Right?
Yes. Oh, and burn is also incorrect. Because on success, 50-50 chance to apply burn to either source or target. The purpose of these is that there are effects on player that work with taking damage or getting status effects applied to yourself, so you still get a benefit from these if you have other effects that synergize with them, even though it's 50-50 to be negative.
Because you'll damage yourself and then get a buff?
Yeah.
Got it.
And then
So,
later on, we'll have effects that are specifically self-damage does this benefit, so there's even more reason to have that.
So if it does apply, then we have to figure out if we are doing 5% extra damage to me or the enemy.
Yes.
Hertz source equals 50-50 chance, yeah?
Yep.
So if we hurt the source, otherwise, we do something else. So it's not going to be a status effect. How do I do % chance? That's what we need to do. So, I actually added one more piece to modifiable stat. So the way calculated works now, whenever you try to get calculated out, we're going to try and calculate the final calculation. So calculated is like all the stuff that's always going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you recalculate the stat, single use actually shouldn't recalculate, huh? No. Status effects. So the stats will apply to all things that are in flat, additive, compounding, and status, as long as that status effect is there, right?
Right.
Then we have two different types of effects. We have a single use effect, which grabs it, which uses all of them and then clears it, right?
Right.
And then for percent chance effects, you let them impact the stat. You let them try to impact the stat.
Okay.
So percent chance effects actually can't be... Right now they're stat modifier effects. But this is going to... I guess they are stat modifiers because it's modifying the HP.
So in this
But
case...
it should impact damage.
Well, in this case, it's fine, right? Because if we get to the if-else statement that you made, it's already succeeded. And so we literally just have single use 5% damage and then self-heal for the damage dealt. Or vice versa.
Okay, so let me talk you through why this is a bad solution. Okay?
Okay.
So in some places, let's say rate of fire, for example. No, that's a bad one. Let's say max HP, for example. Well, you're asking for max HP calculated here when we execute an execute damage effect, right?
Right.
You're also asking for it here. When does it use the single use effect? See the problem? If you're using the property everywhere, one place will get that single use effect and another place won't.
We should only be applying single use effects when you take damage, though. So it shouldn't matter because we add single use effects on hit, and then it gets called on the same frame, and then cleared.
You could see how a timing issue could cause that to not work correctly, right? If the UI gets hey, the player used ammo, and it asks for ammo, and then the player needs to use that ammo, and they both use calculated, what if the UI shows that that single use and gives you 12 ammo instead of 11, and then when you go to actually reload, you don't have that 12 ammo, right?
Right.
So you can see how this is just not a good system.
I'm struggling to think of a use case where that would actually happen. Because the primary purpose of this
it may not be a problem. I'm just saying that is a caveat to this system, that if we do end up touching things in multiple places, one of them may clear the single use effect.
Yeah, it just the single use effects get added right before they get used, so it shouldn't get called somewhere else in between adding it and using it because it's always on the same frame currently. Like, for example, single use effects for damage are added on hit and then calculated on take hit on the same frame.
Yeah, it probably won't be a problem, huh?
I think that the timing will always be correct because we're deciding when we add those.
So we
and it's always
execute all of them and then we immediately use them. Yeah, that's fair. So here's the thing. How do we tell both me and them to take a hit?
So it's actually really simple. Excuse me. So go back to your if-else statement. So all we're doing is taking our damage, adding 5%, and then applying that 5% to either ourselves or the other. And then applying that same number value in healing to ourselves or the other.
Okay. So you want to just actually do the take hit stuff here then?
I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it. Because we want this to be self-damage, because that could come into play later if you have things specifically around hurting yourself.
Okay. So if it's hurt source, then it's source dot take damage, take hit. And then we need to figure out how much damage this was dealing in the first place, right?
Yep.
Source dot stats dot combat stats dot which weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. This... I believe this effect is only on projectile currently.
Sure, we can just default to that.
Yeah. We'll update it as needed later.
And do we only add the base damage to this, or do we add on hit damage too?
That's a good question.
You see how this is getting obnoxious?
I think we just do base damage.
Okay. And then target.
Because imagine a scenario where
this?
you have... No, don't do take hit. There's an add H... There's a heal or like an add HP or something.
Lion Horn.
On HP stats, there's an add that clamps it to the max.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're getting at. We should just probably add that to the entity then. That way we don't have to dig into stats.
Probably, yeah.
This could do some weird thing. Probably need to do something like that.
Yeah. I like the idea of you, I like the idea of you, healing, but, or like avoiding death by healing, but I think it could cause some really weird timing issues.
Yep. It's that simple?
Yeah. I mean, that looks right to me. Does that look right to you?
I feel like we're missing things, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, we need to do the percentage of damage.
Oh. There.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. You hit them, one of you takes extra damage, and the other one heals. Yeah, I think going off of base makes sense, because imagine if you had like a bunch of different on-hit effects that all activated at once to make you deal insane damage, and then you just kill yourself.
Range, on hit, tier 1. And this isn't a status effect, it's not a stat effect. It's an on-hit effect. I need to start figuring out how to lay these folders out a little better, but whatever.
Oh, actually, there's one thing you need to add to this.
Oh, okay.
And this isn't fair, in the sense of like making things balanced between enemy and player, but it's fair in the sense of that you should never completely screw yourself over. Make a check to ensure you can't kill yourself with the extra damage. Like it reduces you to a minimum of 1 HP.
If it hurts the source, then if source dot stats dot combat stats dot HP current HP, that's not a calculated variable. Okay. If subtracting the damage from that gets you less than or equal to 0. No, I don't want to do an if statement. I'm just going to clamp it. Float source damage. Clamp the damage to a minimum of 0 and a maximum of current HP plus 1 minus damage.
Well, min 0 would still kill you, wouldn't it?
Well, then you'd be taking 0 damage.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
You can either take you can take between 0 and damage that would get you to 1 HP. I think that's how this works. We got current HP plus... Okay, so if we have 10 HP and we take 10 damage, then this can clamp between 10 plus 1, which is 11, minus 10, which would be 1 damage.
Okay, but
Wait,
what if you have...
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Hold on. 10 HP, 10 damage. It should deal 9 damage.
Right. And what if it's you have 10 HP and you're taking 20 damage?
Yeah, there. This case should work for both. Then we should clamp it to HP minus 1. Yeah?
Wait, what?
The maximum damage that we can take is our current HP minus 1. So if you have 10 HP, we can take 9 damage.
Right. No. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
That's way easier. Clamp the damage to the source so that we cannot kill ourselves with this effect. This makes it so that they can take damage.
RBRT, welcome to the stream. Sorry I didn't see you.
Hi, RB.
I wouldn't add a side effect to a property getter, especially in a multi-thread context. I'm assuming you have multiple threads. Also having problems with your stream. I'm not sure whether it's my internet or yours.
I've been having the same problem, so I think it's yours. I wonder if it's because you're watching my stream on Discord.
Yeah, it could be. I don't really know what to do about it, unfortunately.
Me either.
My internet's been kind of crap the past week or so. I have no idea why. Just Xfinity being Xfinity.
Okay, so healer damage then. And the impact fuck. Okay, so the other problem with this is remembering how this works.
Yeah.
So the impact is the percentage of the damage. So it's 0.0. It's 5%.
Yes.
And additive and flat don't really do anything here, huh? Yeah, I'm not. It doesn't matter what you set it to.
Yeah.
Application chance is 50. And those are the other things that we need to touch. Okay. And there's no negative effect.
Wait, no, application chance is not 50. Because that's the chance that it happens. 50% is the chance that it affects us or them.
One or the other. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to separate.
What's the chance?
What's the success?
What's the chance that you want this to apply?
Well, I've been doing most of these values are arbitrary because I figure we're gonna fix them in balancing. So let's just do 5%.
Okay.
I think that's a good starting chance for most things.
Sure. I've been struggling with just wanting to chug these out and going and testing each individual one. What I've been doing is just finishing the tier and then going and testing the whole tier.
Yeah. So let's fix burn.
Yes. Damage over time. Okay, so we grab all the overrides.
Yep.
On craft, we add it to our on hit effects. When we execute, we figure out whether or not it applies.
Yep. And then if does apply, we need to decide if it's going to apply on source or target.
Okay.
So the whole point of tier 1s is they affect someone.
I hate putting in these magic things, but it feels so weird to have like 50% chance up at the top. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could make it a util if you really want to.
Yeah.
And then
that's
just
not a
make it
bad idea.
static.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. If we apply to the source, then do. Source gets this. Otherwise, the target gets this. And actually, we kind of do want to leave source and target, so that way we know like who we tried to attack that triggered this, I guess.
Yeah, that could come into play later.
Yeah. Okay. It should be that simple. Let's go double check how status effects work, shall we?
Yeah. Make sure this is
Let me
gonna work.
add a refresh to combat stats. Add a refresh status effects. Why is add a refresh
Wait, Sabian.
only working on each what?
I just realized we don't want to make 50-50 magic. We do want to make it a variable because in tier 2 there are some that's like 85-15.
So this is one of the few things that'll actually be configured on the scriptable object.
Yes.
I need to start. I need to fix the headers to be like, hey, don't touch these. These are overridden stats. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one will be effect specific. Public float. Chance to apply. Or chance to self-harm.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do backfire.
Chance to backfire. Chance to backfire.
Ah, shit.
Let's abort. No.
Ooh, just about got you canceled.
Imagine someone digging into the code and finding that.
Oh no. No, I don't want it to be. Wait, A. Why you no be here? They're not safe.
What?
Eh. Oh, I'm looking at damage over time effect. There we go. Ooh. What? Do I have errors? No. Damage high health. Dope. Damage over time. That's a status effect.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, I see the problem with the system.
Yep.
Okay. So, chance to backfire, I actually don't want on the effect, because then you have to create a new effect with different chance to backfire, so there should just be an overrides question.
No, yeah, that should just override. God damn it.
This system is not it.
We came, we saw, we fucked around, and we found out.
I guess it'll be status effect specific.
Is it? Because there's some that are on hit. Because the idea of the low tier effects is like he's still figuring all of this tech out, and so sometimes
Yeah.
it impacts him instead. And then we just want to make sure that the backfires, for the most part, aren't going to kill the player, because that, especially there's a very funky effect that just reduces you to 1 HP and buffs the shit out of your damage. So you don't want to get that and then immediately die because an effect backfire.
0.5. The big problem with the system is just remembering like how this behaves, how like what thing actually scales, what these actually mean. You have to like go read the code every time.
It's getting so complicated, dude. I don't know what to do.
I was I don't think I'd rather have it any other way. Like we're able to do so much cool shit with it.
Yeah. Like the only other way would be to just reduce the scope, which I obviously don't want to do.
Healer damage doesn't have a chance to backfire. It was burn. Yeah, we're gonna have bugs. Okay, chain damage nears 3 entities. Effects on hit. chain damage effect. That way we can use it in multiple different places.
And this
Forget.
one can affect source if it's tier 1.
Oh.
Nearest 3 entities regardless of if they are the source.
I don't want to grab damage over time. I want to grab one of the other effects that's mostly set up. Percent healer damage seems closer. Boop. Okay, so chain damage effect is going to have... Oh my god, number of targets needs to be a new... Is number of targets how it scales?
Yes.
Then, wait. Chain damage to nearest 3 entities. How much damage does it do?
Your damage.
Oh.
I'd say
That-
base damage, not
Yep.
on-hit damage.
So impact per stack is how many enemies it jumps to.
Yep.
I hate having to like put in a comp. And then the chance to apply is just hard-coded. It's not going to scale.
I'd say yeah, probably.
So on craft, we add it to the on-hit effects. Then when we execute, we have to figure out if it does apply. If it does apply, we have to figure out if it hurts the source.
Yeah.
Or is this just if the... Oh, no.
Oh no,
If
yeah,
you-
it's just if source is closer. If source is one of the closest entities, and then it should have a max range as well, probably.
Which means we need a new stat to override.
Oh my god.
I don't see a better way. I
No.
really don't.
And honestly, max range will probably be used more places, so it's fine.
This
It's
is
like-
just
it's one of
not
those things
this
where
is
we're
just
gonna-
not gonna scale.
Initially, we're going to be scaling the scope every time we make a new effect, right? But there's going to be less and less things that aren't
Yeah, I know.
transferable, so...
You know what I hate about this? This has to do physics in an update.
Why does it
Unless
need
we do
to
the room to figure out how many the 3 nearest units. You have to do physics.overlap box or some shit.
No, because we have a list of enemies. And then we know the player location. So we just create a new list of entities, pull the list from Game Manager, and then add player.
Equals a new list that's going to be populated with game manager.player entity and game manager.room manager. Do we have current room somewhere?
No, we don't want to do room. There's Game Manager dot enemy object pool dot.
Enemy object pool is this guy. All enemies.
Oh, it only has entity behavior data. Does the entity behavior data hold on to the entity? I think it
Yeah.
does.
My entity, but it's private and it has a public access here. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we have done ourselves an ouchie.
Dot
So for all the enemies, select.
And then we want to do a dot where they are within max range.
Where they are within max range of where the bullet hit, though.
Of target.
Oh, you're right.
We just check target. So
I
we need to
hate-
exclude target from the list and then do a dot where.
I'm gonna do.
There.
We're gonna add the player entity to this list afterwards. So we select the. My entity is an enemy entity. Fuck. Cannot convert. Is it just because I need to do this? Is that what you're bitchy about? Cannot convert a list of enemy entity to entity. Is
do,
enemy Is that
can you
an
just
enemy
do an
entity?
as?
No,
It
that should work.
It,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe just do an as? You shouldn't need
Hold
to,
on.
though.
Okay, convert list of enemy. Because this to list converts it to a list of enemy entity. That's the problem. Oh, I got this. You ready for this? Add range takes in an enumerable.
Okay.
Ta-da.
Jesus.
That's not good. Okay, so we'll actually, since we're gonna need to do some funky shit here. Enemies in range is equal to this enumerable list. And then we'll add that.
And then we want to do a dot where.
Yup. So we're gonna do a little bit of fluent syntax. E dot E goes to E dot transform dot position. Vect 3 dot distance.
Just do vector 2 dot distance.
It's transform though, and then it'll cast and it'll be more expensive.
Oh,
but if we fucked up the z-axes, yep. Between the enemy's transform position and the target transform position is less than the max range.
Yep.
Distance gets closed, and then we do less than max range. We don't need this. Okay, so we add all those enemies in range. Then
this makes me so sad.
So fucking sad.
I'm so sad right now.
That ain't the stupidest shit I've ever written. I don't know what it is. Oh, fuck.
Wait, this won't work.
Wait, yeah, I know.
This won't work.
We have to put them all in a list, order by how close they are, and then take a certain amount from the list.
We have to order them. Yeah.
Hold on.
Order them by how close they are.
Yeah,
and then we have to check.
Sort. Fuck.
No, Sabian, here's the problem. It's not just if they're close enough to the source, because it chains to each one, or to the target, because it chains to each one. So it has to chain to the nearest one to the target, and then we have to check if the nearest one to the next one is within range. And then chain to that one, and then check if the nearest one to that one is within range.
So I have an idea. What if chain lightning doesn't exist?
But it's such a cool effect.
You know what I just realized? Hooking up VFX to any of these is going to be insane.
So that's not actually that difficult. There is a VFX graph that is lightning, and you can choose an origin and endpoint to it.
Yeah, but like the timing of like doing this execute thing and having it get access to the thing inside of this is insane.
Yeah.
You'd have to like in here, then create the VFX, pass in this list. You know what? Actually, it's not that bad.
No, it's not bad.
You just like instantiate a prefab and then yeah.
So what we have to do, and this is okay. Here's literally how this has to work. We get a list of all entities. We find the nearest entity to the target.
And then we search that whole list again for the nearest one to that.
Yeah, and we check
until
each one.
max range.
Yep.
Until
it either runs out. So we needed to have a for loop with a for each loop inside of it. And then we need to remove each.
No, we have to figure out a better way to do this. There's no fucking way. We need to like limit all enemies down to just the ones that are in range to start.
But that way we don't do that because the ones in range of the next one aren't going to be in range of the first one necessarily.
That's fine, because what I don't want to run into is this. You're running through rooms, and you spawn all the guys in this room, you spawn all the guys in this room, and then you run to this room, and you spawn all the guys in this room. and then you shoot a guy here. It has to check all these entities. No, that's not happening.
So we need an initial... Wait. No, there's a really easy way to do this.
Oh, get all the ones that are within max range times how many we have.
Yep.
So enemies in max range.
Yep.
Less than max range times impact. Impact is how many...
Here's the thing.
I wish we could
if
see the
this
distress.
scope gets out of hand, it will mean that our game is funded, and we will happily go through this bullshit as many times as we need to.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna actually just start renaming these rather than just calling it impact. Yep. Now the way that the impact is used is actually tied to a reasonable variable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So max range times... Okay, so now we get all the enemies that are in our range.
Yes, they're in our max range.
So now we have them. Actually,
and then we check if player is within max range.
If... Okay, so now we have all the things that we are capable of hitting.
Yep. So then we don't need to sort them, really.
We just need to find the closest one.
Yeah, we find the closest one, and then, we need to remove target from the list as well. Target can't be on this list. You can't affect yourself with it. Or, it can't chain to the same enemy.
Where the distance is this, and E is not equal to target.
Yep. This isn't getting complicated.
This isn't getting painful at all. I'm gonna have to go back and add comments. Okay, so instead of sort, we're gonna do min, and the min is the distance between E dot transform dot position and target dot transform dot position. I have one. I don't need this. And this returns... Fucking what? Why do you return a float? Oh, is min only meant to be used?
It's only meant to be used to grab the variable that you're trying to sort by.
C# link get lowest object. Nope. 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 Nope.
Wait, wouldn't order by dot first work?
Yeah, you know how slow ordering in this massive list is going to be?
Yeah, you're right.
Alright, we're just going to do a for loop. I feel like that's what min should be able to do for us. But it only returns the actual float. Whatever.
And we want to put all of this in a for loop for the... Oh, no, because then we don't do target every time, do we? So what we need to do is we need to select the closest entity, make it the new target, and then branch off of that, remove that target from the list, and branch off of it to the next one.
I'm getting there. I'm thinking. And the damage that we do is just calculate base damage.
Yes.
So we get all the enemies.
And then we need to do a
okay. So now
we need to do a
can't hit
for loop
is
for the number that we're hitting.
entities in max range. So okay, so we have all the entities in max range.
Yep.
So now, for int I equals 0, I is less than, what did I call this shit? Enemies impacted. I plus var target equals get next target, taking in the entities in max range. Oh no. And the target position. We need like current target and last target, huh?
Yep.
So at the beginning, we need to immediately say target.take hit. Damage source.
No, it already does that when
Eh.
we hit it. We're not dealing double damage to the target. We're only dealing
So
the
we
same
we
damage to
immediately
all
deal
subsequent
damage.
targets.
That our last target is this guy. So we find the closest entity to the last target. New target. Then we say new target, take hit, damage, source. And then we say our last target's equal to our new target. Boom.
We also need to remove new target from the list.
From the list. Yes. Enemies in max range is a enumerable. Fuck. We need it to be a list. Wait.
No, it's entities in max range is what you're looking for. So there's one remaining potential point of failure here, but I don't know if it's a huge deal. So currently, when enemies are spawned, they're spawned way away from the map, so the inactive ones will never be hit by this. But if you go into a boss room, all of the enemies that are currently active become inactive, and they can be right outside the boss room door.
Mm-hmm.
So we're potentially going to be chaining lightning to inactive enemies.
Well, that's simple. Then we just don't use all enemies. We use active enemies.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So we just need one more where.
No, we just the enemy object pool should handle having all enemies and active enemies, and when we use effects, we should only use active enemies.
Okay.
Do we want to do that now? I
Uh,
don't think we want to do that now.
it's gonna be really easy. Just go to room controller.
The game manager uses this guy, and then boss room controllers takes the. Oh no, that's a way to do it. Don't we spawn the boss? Couldn't you have just saved it off?
So we now spawn all enemies during loading time,
Oh, and you just toggle them off
and
and
then
on.
toggle them off, and then teleport them in when you enter a
Oh.
room.
For each, where they're my room. We initialize enemies happen. Oh, okay. So we create all of them and then initialize turns them on and off.
Yeah, it turns them on and off and sets their position to their spawn position. That way they're initialized way away from the map, just in case.
So I don't want to have active enemies be like all enemies dot where is active. I'd rather have two separate lists.
Yeah.
That way you just move them back and forth.
So all we need to do, if you go back into
Room controller.
into initialize enemies, after set active, just do game manager dot active enemy dot enemy object pool dot active enemies dot add that, and then I
When
guess
they die,
we
have to remove it.
Yeah, we'll just remove it in boss room.
So when we spawn the enemy, we add it to all enemies. And I'm assuming we use that somewhere else as well. Oh, we're using it here to just figure out if they're in my room.
Yeah.
Then,
That's how we find the ones that are supposed to go in.
okay. When we go into the boss room, how do we toggle off? When do you toggle off?
When you first enter the boss room.
If I enter into one room and then I enter into another room, we don't toggle off enemies in the last room, right?
Right. It's
Okay,
only
so
in
it's
boss
just for
rooms.
boss room.
So we should probably have a toggle off all enemies command somewhere centralized, because we also probably want to do it like when you enter crafting benches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unless we want to just freeze time, but that seems like a bad solution.
In here?
Yep.
I don't really want all enemies. I want like active and inactive. Yeah. Because like otherwise, how do we know which ones to toggle back on?
I guess we just have we would just have a third list called like enemies to re-enable or something.
Future Sapien problem? Question mark? No, because then we'll forget. All right.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yep. So then add them to that and then just clear active enemies. And then we just want to re-enable enemies.
Okay, that's not too bad. So now the we add it to here, and then when an enemy dies, it needs to remove itself from that list.
Yes. They already removed themselves from the other one, I think just on destroy.
So then we can go to object pool, see where this is used. First, all enemies new. No. Okay. Enemy entity. Die. Currency manager gets killed, and then destroy.
I know I'm doing this somewhere because I don't get weird null refs. Where do I do it? Did I put it in entity behavior data?
remove. No.
Where the fuck did I do it?
Control Shift F. All enemies dot remove. You did not.
Then why is it not
Breaking?
Huh. I don't get any
Because-
weird null refs.
Because when you do like a first on the all enemies, it'll let you know because you'll access dot room on a null.
And I also do like I set them all to inactive, which would also do null.
We initialize enemies for a room controller. We do this, and then we add them here. I don't know. We're using this anywhere else? The boss room, the game manager, and the room controller. I don't know how it.
Huh.
How is it not breaking then? Is this where we go breakpoint? Because we should probably figure that out.
Yeah.
How much shit is broken? Actually, before we do that, before I forget, the chain damage effect should be active. The whole reason we went down that rabbit hole. And that's like another just like random thing you have to remember when working on effects now. That's pain.
Yep.
All right, let's see what happens. No errors. We run. We go. Okay, so when is all enemies used? That's what I need to know. Boss room controller. All enemies. Okay, so it should break here when you walk into the boss room. Yeah? After I've killed one of them?
Yeah, it should.
Okay, so let's just go find the boss room. Nope, I'm not doing this. Game manager, spawn boss room at start. Because I'm a smart cookie. So now, we just run into any other room, spawn the enemy.
Oh, since it's checking first, though, it probably won't break because
Oh,
the...
Oh. Sequence contains no matching element. Sorry. Combat stats, add a refresh status effect. Where was that coming from? Damage over time effect. Oh, I forgot I have that unlocked. We're gonna have to make some crazy ass tools to debug this shit.
Yep.
Slap the shit out of you, slap the shit out of you, slap the shit out of you. Die. Okay. Ah! What? Update currency text happens when currency is updated. God damn it. I'm not gonna save. I just wanted that to be fixed. Okay, so now we go to the boss room.
This might be fine because the boss might be higher up on the list since we are spawning it first.
Where were we? Boss room. Boss room. Okay. Catch. No! No! God damn it. Did the bank UI save? It did when I hit debug. I forgot it does that. Okay. You motherfucking. Damage over time effect says, hey, this target should take a hit, but the target's null. Status effect data on tick. Status effect data is used in here. Combat stack. How is this still running?
Shouldn't be if the entity's been destroyed.
Entity. Where do we do status effects? Tick statuses.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna run to the restroom.
If is dead, return. How about now?